Empower yourself and discover what you can do with your life through hard work, concentration, and research. By Sunday Adilaha. A pleasant day to everyone. My respect to our school's division superintendent, Sir Idilberto Oplinaria, our assistant schools division superintendent, Ma'am Rosemary Masisar, our SGOD chief, Ma'am Maria Carmela Ablin, SEPS in Research, Sir Bridget Abalorio. Good day, Division of Lanao del Norte. I am Lady Lorenz Paitan Cabriana of Tubod Central Elementary School. So today we will be discussing the action research framework, which is necessary for us to understand before we can engage in action research. So at the end of the session, you are expected to, number one, describe each stage of the action research framework and explain how each one is related to one another. Number two, enumerate the steps in operationalizing the action research framework. And number three, apply conceptually the 5 stages of the action research framework on a specific problem situation in the classroom. We also have key understandings. In doing action research, researchers must be guided by the principles of excellence, integrity, and openness. The action research cycle, consisting of 5A steps, helps researchers work through the research process of seeking information and drawing conclusions. Action research can be done by translating identified problems into question form, formulating research hypotheses, collecting analysis, and analyzing, and interpreting information related to the question, drawing conclusions from analysis, and using the conclusions to verify or reject the hypothesis. So we will start now. Okay, I hope you're ready. I have here 5 stages. Okay, then let's try to arrange this whether in linear pattern or in a circular pattern. Okay, so let's try to arrange the stages in correct sequence. The first here, act to seek answers. Next is assess situation. Then analyze and reflect, the third one here in the middle. Then acquire information and ask question. So let's try to think what will be the arrangement in correct sequence. What comes first? What will be in the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth? Okay, so I hope we are doing analysis now. What would come first? Okay, then so as we go through our session, our discussion today, so you will know what is the correct arrangement of these stages based on our action research framework. Okay, so I guess you have now your arrangement or your correct sequence. So the action research framework is a conceptual guide in the conduct of action research. So it is our guide so that we can make our own action research. It helps researchers work through the stages of seeking information and drawing conclusions. So this is very much needed for us to start our action research. So here is the action research framework. Now, see if you got the correct arrangement according to the sequence. First is assess the situation. So assess the situation. This is the first stage. So in this stage, this is performed to identify improvement opportunities in the teaching learning process. This involves the examination of student outcomes. We may base this from the achievement test or from the results of the test of our pupils. Then for curriculum, um, in the instructional materials or the content standards. For the instruction, the teaching strategies, and the use of technology or intervention in our teaching style. In the classroom, school climate, student morale, teacher morale, or the relationships between the teachers and the supervisors, and also the parental involvement. So we may base this on the participation of parents in the committees and their attendance at the events or activities in the classroom in our school. So in this stage, we have to look for a problem situation in the school or in our classroom that needs an immediate solution. So based on our experiences in our classroom, in our school, we have a lot of problems, especially this time in our new normal. We are experiencing different problems now. So that is a very very great time for us to reflect or think of problems that needs solution. Okay, so that is stage 1. Next is okay, assess situation, and next is ask a question. So let's try to ask question. That is stage 2. A research question is centered to an action research project as it focuses the study. It determines the methods and guides all stages of inquiry, analysis, and reporting. So when doing the action research, the researcher has to go under the surface of an issue to identify why something is happening in order to generate the research question. So if we can find now the problem, so we have to ask questions. Why is it happening? Why is this specific child, his attitude, his behavior, or the result in the test, their performances? So we have to ask many questions. Okay, we have here sample research questions. What innovative technologies can be used to teach literacy in math? How can they be applied? So these are just some research question sample. Another, the main purpose of the study is to determine the effect of process-oriented guided inquiry learning on students' academic performance. So this is the sample of a research question. Okay, so then we have here number 1 and number 2, this specific questions. Number 1, what is the level of performance of the students in the control and experimental groups as measured in the pre-test and post-test results? And number 2, is there a significant difference between students exposed to traditional method of instruction and students exposed to guided inquiry instruction? So these are just sample research questions. So we may have different research questions based on our problems, our own problems in our classrooms. Okay, next stage is okay, act to seek answers. So after assessing the situation, we have to ask questions, then act to seek answers. So this is now the stage 3 of our action research framework. Act to seek answers. To be able to provide answers to the research question. So we've formulated questions, then we have to act, and we have to think of the design, our research design, the tests. You have to test the appropriate interventions with a view of gaining insight to the problem and ultimately solving the problem. Okay, so we have to implement an intervention to address the specific problem that we have. So, for example, um, this one is the problem: difficulty in conceptualizing geometry. So, possible interventions, maybe we can use manipulatives or the interactive game or by the use of models. So these are just some interventions, but we may have another interventions based on our um, our readings, our maybe we could read mga related literatures. So this is just an example. Okay, so this is for stage 3, act to seek answers. Okay, then stage 4. Okay, stage 4 is okay, acquire information. Sorry for that. Acquire information. This is the 4th stage. So after um, act to seek answers, then we are going to acquire information. So acquire information in stage 4. This stage requires the researcher to gather data and information about the implemented intervention using appropriate data collection instruments. So we are going to collect data after the intervention. After the intervention is implemented in our classroom, then we are going to see if it worked, if it is it could answer the problem, it could help us in our problem. So whether in questionnaire, in a survey form, or in by the use of pre-test and post-tests. So that is stage 4, acquire information. So this is very important, the collection of data and information. Then lastly, last stage, this is the 5th stage. Okay, analyze and reflect. So this is very important, analyze and reflect. So in this stage, data analysis and interpretation are needed. The research findings serve as basis for conclusions and recommendations. So we have to use statistical or qualitative analysis of data and interpretation of the result of analysis to see if the intervention has addressed the problem. So these findings, coupled with the researcher's reflection, so we have to analyze, we have to reflect on the result of our research, the result of our the action research, and this may also serve as the starting point for the next action research. So that is why it is, if you can see this one, it is a cycle. So the action research framework is a cycle. Pabalik-balik lang siya because after the analysis and this stage, analyze and reflect, so we can see that if the problem, if our problem is solved through our study, then we are going to make a report from that and our findings. Then this may lead to another study that will improve more to the said the said existing problem, or this may be used to other researchers for their problem in their specific location. Okay, so this is now the action research framework. It is a cycle. So after analysis and reflect, another situation may be assessed and ask another questions and seek to answer, act to seek answers, acquire information, then analyze and reflect again. So this is a cycle. Okay, so and After understanding the action research framework, so I hope you can see now this is the 5A of the action research. 5A, assess situation, ask a question, act to seek answers, acquire information, and analyze and reflect. So we also need to know how action research is conducted. So in this regard, we are referring to the action research process. So we will move on to the action research process. So the research process follows the specific method as it is this is based on the action research framework. So the framework is the guide for the execution of the technical steps in the research process. So this will be the action research process. First is identify the action research problem. Second, designing the action research. Third, collecting the data for action research. Analyzing the data obtained for action research. And writing the action research report. So this is connected or based on the action research framework. Okay, so we will discuss it one by one. Let's start with the step 1, identifying action research problem. So this is, if we're going to look back at the action research framework, this is the first A and the second A. So what's that? That is the assess the situation and ask question. So for us to define a problem, so we have to assess the situation and we have to ask questions based on the situation that we are facing, the problem that we are facing in our classroom and in our school. So defining the problem to be solved will help the teacher decide on what kind of information to collect. It will also help in determining appropriate interventions to solve a pressing need. And it also gives the researcher an idea to the kind of information that needs to be collected. So this one, let's try to think whether this one is a problem or not. Okay, low NAT MPS of the school. Is this a problem or not a problem? Excuse me. Okay, so this one it's not a problem, but a result of a specific problem. Yeah, so this one is a result of the specific problem. Now let's another. Okay, is this a problem or not? Difficulty in conceptualizing geometry. Okay, so this is the problem. Yes, so this is a problem because this contributes to the low NAT MPS of the school. So this is where we are going to focus on the problem, not this low NAT MPS of the school, because it is very broad. So we are going to go deeper. What is the reason why we have low NAT MPS in the school? Maybe because the pupils got difficulty in conceptualizing geometry. That is why they have low scores and they cannot understand. So it leads to low NAT MPS. So this is the very problem. Okay, so next is step 2. Okay, step 2 is designing the action research. A research design is necessary to generate relevant information with minimal effort, time, and money. To specify the specific data collection activities and to collect relevant data. So this step 2, this is connected to the A2, the second A of the action research framework. which is the ask a question. Okay, so what design will you going to use? Whether the design will be in pre-test, post-test research design, or the post-test only research design, or the quasi-experimental design. So we have to identify so that we can save time, we can save money, because we teachers are so busy in our work. So we have to specify first, okay, the specific data collection. Okay, so next step is step 3. Step 3 is collecting the data for action research. So collecting data is important in getting a clearer picture of variables which may have potential contributions to the problem selected. Okay, so what do we do to collect the data or information? So we are going to so the data collected will help the action research determine if the intervention has accomplished its objective or not and has been effective. So for example, after we implement the intervention, then we are going to check if that specific intervention um, helped us in improving the pupils' conceptual understanding in geometry. So we are going to use the post-test, no pre-test, post-test. So that is the collecting data step. Okay, so that we can see if that in specific intervention is effective or not. Okay, so that is collecting the data for action research. This is connected to action research. Action research framework 3rd and 4th A. So this is the action. Acquire information and act to seek answers. So act to seek answers through collecting data and acquiring information. So we are going to interpret and analyze the data that we are collecting. Then step 4. Step 4 is analyzing the data for action research. So analyzing the data for action research, this is based on the action research framework A5. Okay, the analysis, analyze, and reflect. So the data collected can be analyzed and treated with appropriate statistical tests where conclusions are based. So there are 2 types of data which can be analyzed, quantitative or the qualitative the data. Okay, so and the last one is the stage or step 5, writing the action research report. So writing the action research findings is very important. So the results of the research must be reported to those who need the information, as critical decisions may be based on the research findings. So this last step operationalizes the last stage of the action research framework, the analyze and reflect. So based on our findings, we can now share this to other researchers, our findings, and we can also use our findings to improve more the interventions that we implemented. Okay, so then we're going to we may go back to the first stage, the assessing the situation. So that we can improve more, we can solve more problem for the benefit of our pupils and for the good of our the Department of Education, to help our department in solving those problems, especially this time of pandemic. Okay, so this framework This framework begins and ends with mental process. So we are going to think and think and think all over again. Assessment in the beginning and reflection at the end. So this is the action research framework. So thank you for listening. Bring with you the insights you have as you deepen your understanding of action research. God bless everyone and keep safe.